I don't know about you, but I got lost in yesterday's headline. This is what it was. Judge rules XRP is not a security in SEC case against Ripple. But there was something so important also happening yesterday, kind of as this news was breaking. It's kind of funny to read what was happening in this courtroom when that news came out. We're going to look at this. Coinbase, SEC, SPAR, over definition of securities, nature of staking, and first court hearing. This happened yesterday. While that other news was breaking, I got kind of lost in the other headlines. I didn't even realize this was going on. I want to discuss what happened in the courtroom. I am first going to want to show you a clip of Paul Grewal just this morning. I believe this was this morning. Wait until you see what he says in relation to this SEC versus Coinbase lawsuit. And Paul Grewal, as many of you know, the chief legal officer at Coinbase. I want to start the video by just prefacing something, just a point. This was Meta Lawman on Twitter just a little bit ago in relation to this case. It's hazardous to read too much into statements made by a judge at an initial conference. All she has to go on are short letters from each side. I want to be objective when covering all of this news. I think as crypto holders, we're obviously trying to look into everything the judge says as bullish, as good for Coinbase. But I want to just put that out there to be objective as we read these things. We have to let these things play out. We don't always know exactly what judge is thinking. I will say this, though, the second point. That said, the judge asked good questions and seemed skeptical of some of the SEC's answers. She really did. Seemed very skeptical, as most of us are, because when you start looking into the way the SEC communicates, the things that they say, it's just, in my opinion, so manipulative. And from an emotional intelligence standpoint, if you're just sitting back and watching and if you can read into these things, it becomes very obvious that they're just trying to weasel their way to some type of win. And I don't know if that's going to work for them. So we're going to talk about what happened in this courtroom, what went on, some really good points. Before we do that, I do want to show you this clip from Paul Grewal, Chief Legal Officer at Coinbase. Listen to what he says.
Do you win now?
I think we will win. Now, I thought we would win before this decision. We think this decision has only further strengthened the case. And the reason is this was not just a casual opinion offered as part of a much wider dispute.
I think we will win. Paul Grewal, I've been such a fan. You all know I've been covering a lot of his stuff. Such a good communication method on Twitter. Just doing such an excellent job. And so he did think they would probably win before, but now he really thinks it, right? And now the fact, and how could you not think it? This was in June 6th, SEC charges Coinbase for operating as an unregistered securities exchange, broker, and clearing agency. How could you not think they have such a better shot right now after this news yesterday? Judge rules XRP is not a security. Now, let's talk about what happened in this courtroom yesterday. Think about this while we're reading through some of these points, though. While this was happening, when they woke up yesterday morning, whether it's the judge or Coinbase or SEC, they weren't thinking, hey, we're going into this meeting today, this hearing, as Ripple's winning. Think about that. Here we go. A judge's questions offered hints of how she's looking at Coinbase's legal battle with the SEC during the first hearing in the case. In a pre-motion hearing Thursday that lasted over 2 hours, including a brief recess where both parties huddled to digest a federal judge's ruling on the SEC's separate Ripple lawsuit. They had to take a break. The whole pre-motion hearing was over 2 hours, but they had to take a break, a recess, because the Ripple news came out. They had to deliberate. They had to figure out what's going on. I think that is, the timing of that is imagine that. Like a multi-year case, Ripple versus SEC, and then all of a sudden, while Coinbase is in a hearing with the SEC about a very similar issue, boom, Ripple gets a victory. The timing of that is, I can't even. The SEC is not looking to regulate all crypto in this country. We regulate conduct, said the SEC counsel when asked to contextualize prior testimony from Chairman Gary Gensler, where Gensler appeared to suggest the SEC did not have the authority to regulate crypto assets. He did say that. He said basically, I believe it's up to Congress, right? And that is true. So it would make sense for him to say that. But then boom, they turn around and then they go and try and regulate all of crypto. And here they are weaseling their way through with their comment. The SEC is not looking to regulate all crypto in this country. We regulate conduct. That's what they're doing, apparently. It seems, and then listen to the judge. It seems like to consider which conduct to regulate, you'd have to consider what to regulate, said Judge Fila to the SEC's counsel. I mean, what a point. And to expand on that further, if you're having to consider what to regulate, you're going to start trying to regulate it, which is what they've been doing by enforcement. Was it within the power of the SEC to have Coinbase register as a securities exchange? I think so, replied Judge Fila. Listen to that. Was it within the power of the SEC to have Coinbase registered? I think so. And did they? No. SEC didn't make them register as a securities exchange. So judge says it's not crazy for Coinbase to think that they were doing what they were doing was okay based on the issuance of the S1. I see skepticism. I do. Trying to look objectively. Coinbase lawyer said staking was equivalent to payment for a service and that there was no risk to the staking party of loss. This is in regards to the staking piece. Rendering staking as a services contract, similar to an IT function. The very proper argument here, not investment contract. However, SEC lawyer argued, and here's the argument, IT services can be entrepreneurial. Judge Fila concluded the hearing by asking both sides to come up with a realistic schedule that took into consideration her very busy docket that extended into October. So this might give some insight. Judge very busy. The next 2 or 3 months are going to be very interesting to see how quickly this plays out. But I want to say something. This basically happened without Judge being able to digest what had just happened. Even the skepticism that we see in this article from the judge, right? If you think about it, Judge asking really good questions, saying things like it's not crazy for Coinbase to think what they were doing was okay based on the issuance of S1. This is before Judge has even digested what just happened with Ripple, right? And this could be such a game changer. We haven't even seen it reflect in a hearing just yet. And I'm not trying to get the hopium up, but that's just how I read things. So that's basically what happened yesterday. I want to leave you with this. This is Library. Library went through their own thing, right? The Ripple case should end the SEC versus Coinbase lawsuit. I think that sums it up, and so does this one. SEC versus Coinbase has started, and Judge Catherine Fila came out of the gate taking shots at the SEC. I think that rounds up kind of the headline of what went on. But what do you all think? The Ripple case should end the SEC versus Coinbase lawsuit. Do you agree? I agree. I really do agree. And if anything, I think what happened with the Ripple case yesterday, the win for Ripple and XRP holders, I think it will at the very least fast track the decision making of Judge Fila over here on this case, the SEC versus Coinbase. So this is what's going on, everybody. Crazy to see. I can't believe it got lost in the headlines for me. Many of you might have been tracking it, but I really wasn't until this morning. So let me know your thoughts, everybody, about all of this. Hit the subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I appreciate each and every one of you. Hope you have an awesome day. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.